Says going live. Now we live. Yo, welcome to the BeatPPL Podcast, episode 8. Actually, it's 1 week late. Last week I was mad under the weather. Some of y'all know it was a big fire over here, and that got all, you can mess up my sinuses and bronchial crap and all kinds of stuff. So I think I should just sue the city. But at any rate, 1 week late, but we got a good panel. We got my people in the place to be. Let's go down the line. Yo, Upright, what's going on, bro?
Yo, man, what's up? Good to be here, man. Just excited to be on another show, man, and get into these topics, man. It's a beautiful day out here in Cali, so let's get it, man.
Word up, man. Good to have you. And we got my MIA brother. Not Miami, but literally missing in action. Hello, Jim.
Hey, man, just glad to be back. It's been a few months, man. Glad to be back with my people, man.
Word up. Say, hey, look, before we get started, what you got brewing over there, man? I know you're doing some new things with your site.
I just threw up a new shop on there, man. So, plugins, a little bit of hardware, a little bit of software, kits from the crew, just a little something,
Yes,
a little boutique.
Yeah, that's next level, man. That's raising the level.
Trying, man.
Words, looking good too, man. Welcome to the show, bro.
Yes, sir.
And we got my man Flux a lot. What's up, sir? Flux a lot.
What's going on, man? I'm still alive. It's getting into that season where everybody's really grinding hard. So you're gonna start seeing everybody's products popping up real soon. So
Yep.
That season.
No doubt. Hey, I see you got a nice new desk over there. Your desk setup is
So
looking
I'm
good, bro.
I'm actually doing the review article and everything today. This is a studio desk from a company called Zor, Z-A-O-R, and it's called the Yesk with a Y, and it's got studio rack built into it, slide out tray, real easy to put together. I've been really happy because everybody knows what a mess my studio is, but this has been a blessing right here.
Actually, it looks pretty well organized comparatively to.
Yeah, it does, man. It does.
Well,
it looks really good.
The desk had a lot to do with that because I was able to kind of like put gear in a way that I don't have to have cables kind of going quite across my desk in the way that it used to. Now I can kind of hide things down into the desk and whatnot. So it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot more organized just on a cabling aspect alone. And then, it's a 3-tier setup. So you got the top tier up here and then your main desk and then the slide out tray. So like
I love that slide out tray.
And yeah, like on my site you'll see it, but it has these kind of like triangle cutouts in the arms and whatnot underneath. So it's real easy to kind of run cables through there and keep them up off the ground and have it look nice. So
nice.
Yeah, I've been really, really happy with it, like surprisingly so, because I was looking for a studio desk, and then they were looking to do a review at the same time, so it kind of worked out. And it's all thumbs up, to be honest with you.
Dope.
Word. And let's move on down the line. Oracle, what's going on, bro?
Man, what's happening, man? Just happy to be here with the king and queen of music nerdery.
No doubt. It's good to have you again, man.
Man, hey, you see I put the joint on Twitter the other day. I'm like, yo, I was watching the interview. I'm like, yo, this was hella fun. I got to my man. And,
actually, I'm glad you did that because I was like, man, I need to see if we can get Oracle on again. And last weekend I had to cancel, so I'm like, man, and I still was kind of playing it by ear if it was gonna go on this weekend, but I'm glad I got a chance to. I'm glad all y'all joined too, kind of last minute. So thanks for coming on, man. I heard you playing something in the background earlier that was, you cooking up over there, huh? Wasn't that you?
I mean, it's Saturday morning. Now, it was a few cook-ups going on. Flux had some spam on the grill, and then executive producer for U2, she had some guitars and synths jumping off. But
oh, word.
It's Saturday morning, man. That's what you do. You jam out.
Yes, sir.
That's what's up. Let's boogie on down the road. Yo, what's going on, Stoni? You there?
Hey.
There we go.
How y'all doing? What's up, everybody? I'm good.
Yo.
Word. What you been cooking up lately, Stoni?
I'm actually right now I'm in the studio going through all the tracks to actually go to mastering my EP. So I'm super excited. I'm in like, thank you. I'm in mixing mode, and I'm in like overdubbing, embellishing tracks mode, and just like this is a whole different process for me instead of just like the creative process. So I'm having a good time, and I'm here with you guys. So,
Stoni, let me ask you a question real quick. On the
yes.
Do you find when you're going through that process,
don't play anything yet? 1 second. Yeah.
Do you find like when you're going through that process, you want to add things, like go back to the production phase, or do you keep pretty much everything set and you moving forward? Are you doing mix down right now, or?
You know, it's funny because as we're mixing each song one by one, I find myself. The challenge that I found was that when I was creating the tracks, doing the production, when it came to the mixing, after the mix, it changes everything. It actually changes everything, and you hear everything differently when you're in the studio, and everything is, soundproof. But my challenge has been is a lot of my tracks start off inside a machine, or starts off, inside a push, or I'm using some kind of like drum machine or a sequence pattern kind of based production. And then what I've noticed is, while we're mixing in Pro Tools or in a DAW, I'm just like, okay, I want to do this particular trick inside of the DAW right here, right now, really quick, without having to open up machine, bring my machine controller, load up the sample, load up the whole track, and do this whole like time-consuming process. So what I've been learning to do is all the tricks that I do inside of machine or that I do inside of push, I'm learning how to do that inside of a DAW, where I'm moving like super fast. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So if I want to put a stutter edit or I want to chop up some stuff, I know now I can do that in any DAW. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, okay, let me open up my laptop, let me load up this whole session. It's so time consuming, it's ridiculous.
Right, and then you got to bounce it out again, and then move it over, and all that.
Absolutely, and it's crazy, but and all the guys know. Like I've been hitting them up like for the past 2-3 weeks. The push have 64, repeat, or does machine have this in it? Because what I'm doing is I'm actually treating all the different drum machines like instruments.
Right. Okay.
So machine is like my live bass, or Ableton Push is like my synth rack or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And inside of Pro Tools, I'm just banging everything out. Pause, no pause.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Stoni, ladies and gentlemen.
Leave it to the woman to get crude. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
But that's really what I've been doing, and I'm learning that the power is actually being in your DAW, being able to think about an idea and just be able to do it without being beholden to just that one piece.
Right.
Or being stuck.
Gotcha.
It's easier and quicker inside a machine because I'm fast in that, but now that I'm mixing and I'm producing records, it changes everything. It really changes everything. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the other side of the to me, that's that other side of the completion of the production.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
When you get to that point, then you have a whole new set of issues or problems to address. For me,
but I think the big thing too is workflows.
Yeah, that's true.
But ultimately, it ends up in Pro Tools. Like if you're going to a major studio and it's going to be in Pro Tools, so you got to find a way that you can work in these DAWs that's going to still be fluid and speak to your workflow.
Hey, have you found that you got any plugins that you've been using lately, like
oh my goodness,
Fab Filter, stuff like that? Fab Filter,
Isotope. Life-changing, life-changing. Totally. And it's crazy because now I'm bringing it into the production part. Yeah. After the mixing process, now I'm bringing it into the production now. So
right.
I can't live without
you get a jump on it. Yeah.
Ridiculous. So now I'm like, okay, I got to use this to bounce out. I can't even hear the beats any other way now. I'm so spoiled now with the mixing.
Wow. Okay.
Spoiled,
That's dope. That just makes the product better.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Hey, Kim, what were you saying over there?
I was just saying that a lot of at least the DAWs that are really keeping up nowadays, they all have ways of exporting everything projects into Pro Tools in a really pretty seamless way now. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're used to working in, say, Studio One, you know, it's pretty easy to translate it into, you know, something like Pro Tools or, you know, whatever else. If you're working with Cubase, whatever. And apparently Cubase is supposed to be dropping some new heat soon too. So I'm kind of I got my eye on that because I'm not a Cubase user, but I'm very, very aware of how good their team is. And they've got some things coming that I got a feeling is like gonna have people like really itching, you know, to kind of use them again. So it's funny though, because it's like we go through these waves where it's like, you know, Studio One comes in and everybody's happy, and then, you know, this comes in and then that comes in, and then, you know, Pro Tools, I'll be honest with you, I can't stand it, but at the same time, it's a stalwart. It stays in the background. It's always there. Like it you know, it's just, I hate the term industry standard, but it is an industry standard.
It pretty much is,
so
though.
like,
no matter whether you like it or not, it is.
You know? While you know, if I feel like working in a traditional DAW, I'm gonna pick Studio One because that's what I like. That's what makes me happy. But at the end of the day, I know that I can export, you know, into Studio or into Pro Tools, so it doesn't really bother me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Word.
And most of those tricks that work in Studio One are going to work in, you know, these other programs too.
What makes Studio One so great? I gotta ask that just because honestly, I haven't used it, and I know people that have been turned on to it lately. I know other people. Is that one of the key things that it's just very intuitive?
I switched from Logic, and
I've been a Studio One guy from day one. I've put Ken on it. I've switched. I got people that was I put a lot of people on it. I put people that make their living from creating content, and they were doing that all in Pro Tools, and I was like, yo, you need to check this out, and they switched their entire studio to that. So it's just, and for me, I was coming from a hardware recording background, you know, the old school Akai DSPs and the Rolands and stuff like that, and so for me, it was all about something that was just, again, smooth, something that looked cool and was easy to navigate. You know, I tried all this stuff, Pro Tools, Cubase. I didn't try Logic at the time. I didn't have a Mac, but Pro Tools, Cubase, Digital Performer, all that stuff, and it was all, for me, everything was too cluttered. If it's something that's too cluttered, I'll feel like I don't want to work in it. And honestly, that's what it was for me. Yeah. And
it's funny that you say that, Joe, because for me, I've been for the past year, I've been using Ableton as the production DAW, because there's the mix DAW, which is Pro Tools, and then I feel like I have the production DAW that once you're working in machine, you want to go into a DAW to finish the track, right? So Ableton's been like my production DAW, and the simplicity of the arrangement page in Ableton has been fantastic. But I had a record that I collaborated with someone, and they sent me the Studio One session. I looked at that thing and was just like, what the hell is going on? It was just, for me, it was extremely overwhelming, but it had everything, you know, the Melodyne was already embedded in it, but it was, it was an overkill. You know what I mean? So I really think depending on how you're wired and your brain works.
Yeah, and I think that also depends on what you're doing. Like I guess for me in Studio One, what I noticed when I first used it was everything wasn't up front in your face. Like if you open some of these other DAWs, you got all these different windows just pop up for no reason. Now Studio One, you can do all that stuff if you want to. I'm not that type of guy. I don't get into all that type of stuff. So, and I mean, but honestly, y'all guys know, you know, at the end of the day, for me, I'm working in machine in Ableton. You know, but if I want to do like a traditional DAW, I pick Studio One over the rest, just because a lot of the stuff you can do in there is just so intuitive. Like, hey, I want to do this, I want to duplicate. Oh, just push D. Okay, I didn't have to think. You know, I didn't have to read the manual or anything like that. It's like a lot of the stuff that I was wanting to do just worked, and so that's just kind of how I defaulted to that. But
the one thing about Studio One that I liked was the sound was crazy.
Yeah.
Like the sound
it's got
amazing.
A very open, like the headroom is crazy in Studio One.
Yeah.
For me, it was one feature that pretty much sold me. So you can have an audio track.
Yeah.
You can split that audio track. You know, so if you have one audio file, you can split it and drag a VST onto just a portion of that audio, and it will affect only that portion. So it's basically like
it's a sound designer's dream.
Exactly.
Wig does something like that.
Yeah. So you can drag, you can drag and just affect just a portion of audio that you want. It's called an event effect. So when I saw that, I was like, man, you don't have to draw in automation. Like if you just want a filter to come in at a certain point, you just split the audio, drag the filter on that piece of audio, and bam, it's done.
This works great with it too. Their little fader port. Like I used to have a full desk with motorized faders and everything, and I got rid of it just for the little fader port guy because it works great. Like I can do all my transport.
Bryce, don't you
I can hop around.
Yeah, I got that too. Yep.
Yeah, I got one.
Yep.
I can't wait for him to do one that has like maybe 4 or 5 faders on it. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's really preference, man. And I guess for me, it comes down to the look and how clean something is and how easy it is to operate. Like everything is just so drag and drop in there. You can drag your plugins in. I don't have to open a menu if I don't want to, and you can drag audio out. That's why I put a lot of sound design guys onto it because it's like whatever you're working on, you can just kind of slice it up and just drag it to a folder. So they was like, wait a minute, like I don't have to export. I can just drag this stuff to a folder directly from the DAW, directly to a folder.
Beautiful. Like, I think you're selling me on it right now.
But at the end of the day, what do you use? What's your DAW that you use the most?
Who, myself? I use Logic just because that's what I've always used.
I'm an Ableton guy.
Okay,
like,
I just wanted to make somebody say Ableton real fast.
Yeah, I already said it. I'm an Ableton dude, but I don't really work in a linear way, right? So I stay in session view. Like I don't like the Ableton Arranger. Like I don't like that at all. I don't like how it looks. Like it just looks weird to me.
Yeah, I feel you on that, Joe. I feel you on that. I've gotten used to it because you kind of forced to when you just working in Ableton. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but no, session view and Ableton, that's day one, man. Like that's the one I use. I really don't work in a linear fashion, so I like being able to capture my ideas in loops and just keep it moving.
There you go.
Right.
Now, Black. What do you mean by which DAW we're working in? Are you talking about a DAW where you do your production in, or you mean like mixing?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you're in a post-production state of mind right now. I was going straight from.
Well, you know what I'm saying, Black. You know what I mean?
She's in standpoint. But I'm usually the person though. Whenever I'm like on something, I've been on Ableton for a minute. I use it for everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like just from the start to the finish, unless I go somewhere else, because inevitably you go to another studio, it's Pro Tools all day. But I'm usually not working too much of the Pro Tools there. That's me collaborating with the engineer.
Now let me ask you this. I hear people always say Ableton doesn't have that sound that Pro Tools has, or Ableton doesn't have that sound that Personas Studio One has. What has been your experience with using Ableton for everything?
My thing is, I do hear a lot of people say that, but when it comes to the sound, technically speaking, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I'm like, whatever I'm using, because as far as the sound goes, I feel like that's my responsibility.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna come with the source material or the manipulation techniques I'm not worried about the limitations of what I'm using. Like I got it. So that's what gives you the freedom to bounce around from thing to thing without having to get too technical. Like, well, what's the this on it? I just go with, it's just all a feeling thing.
Hey, let me say on that. One major aspect is that people said the same thing about FL Studio for the longest time and how many hit records were done on it. So it's like I don't even really stress on that too much. Like realistically, if you've got really good source material, that shines above any of that, because honestly, I loved working on a Roland VS 1680, and I go back to some of that stuff, and that wasn't hi-fi compared to these days, but it doesn't really matter. Like that's still, if you got quality music, it's going to shine through.
It doesn't matter. I'll go back and listen to tracks I did years ago and tracks I did today. They may technically sound different from what I did, but I can't tell what I made them on. They all sound like I just made them on, the same thing all the time.
Yeah, one quick thing.
That's because you're a genius. That's why.
You know
Everybody in here, make sure you have your little blue chat window open on the side so that everybody can see it. Because I'm trying to tell Oracle to turn his mic up so that we can hear him better.
Oh snap! All right, great.
Hey, I'm just here to help.
I'm living the iPad life over here right now.
Yo, I wanted to show. I just wanted to show you guys this real quick. Since we were talking about how different DAWs sound, you know. So right here it's crazy because can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, fly low. Okay, this is fly low. This because I remember this topic coming up a couple years ago, and this is not the only post he put up, but he said he loved Ableton so much he wished the sound engine was better. And he also posted another post where he said Reason sounded different from Ableton. So I just thought that was interesting.
Well, hold on. Before you go too far down this road, keep in mind that was back in 2013, and they did improve their sound engine since then.
Okay.
Before.
Wait a minute. I have to almost agree with that because I took a loop. I mean, anybody who's watching this, or all you guys can do the same thing. Take a loop, leave everything in unison, leave everything at 0. Take a loop, drop it into, if you're lucky enough to have all these different tools, drop it into Reason. Don't touch anything. Just put it in Reason, listen to it. Put it in Logic, listen to it. Put it in Ableton, listen back to it, and you're going to hear a significant difference when it goes into Reason.
That's why that's the one thing.
Test. Yeah.
That's what somebody actually was just saying. Like DAW sound is not a thing, but actually
some people will say it's not. Yeah. Some people will say it's not. Then you got people that will say it is, and so it's an interesting topic. You know?
And you can remember back when Logic was like, let's say pre-Logic Pro, like Logic 8 and before. Logic used to be like the R&B DAW because it had like this kind of like warmer, rounder sound, and like a lot of R&B producers were using Logic at the time, and it just had this sound. And then Pro Tools had this more top-endy sound. When I switched from Logic to Studio One, Logic and Studio One, they're very intuitive, and Studio One, it was like basically a lot of my key commands from Logic translated to Studio One, so I was excited about that. But the sound was so drastically different that it took me back a minute because Studio One has this thing called Fat Channel, and it has its own. The whole sound engine sounds completely different from Logic. So, and it took me a good 2-3 months just to be understanding how I had to adjust my EQ differently to get kind of. I like the Logic sound. Like some people didn't like it. I like that kind of rounded sound a little bit, So I went back to that. But all it really came down to was EQing my master bus just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like just a slight, ever so slight EQ changes. And
I think that goes back to what Oracle said. It's like at the end of the day, you know how to get the sound the way you want it.
Yeah,
no matter
that's
what.
The thing. It's all about the goal, and as long as you know what the goal is, you can. In your mind, you know what it takes to make something sound like that. Like maybe it's a little too much top end on this, or maybe this isn't punching hard enough, and then you get yourself to where you need to be. Because a lot of people are, where all these things matter, a lot of people become slaves to those points of, well, this may have all the features I want, but I heard the headroom isn't good, so I'm not going to use it. And I'm like, nah, I'm all about the features and the workflow. I can get the end result where I need.
Oracle, let me ask Oracle a question real quick. So at the end of the day, we all know these super subtle differences, right? Like I'm talking, like I can pick out the difference between a Moog emulation that's extremely good and a real Moog, and to me, that should so not matter. Like realistically, no listener that I know of is ever gonna know as much about the subtlety that I know, and I do it just because I'm a nerd.
Right.
But do you think that the end listener really cares?
No. The end listener
they ain't gonna know half the trouble we go through.
Right. the criteria of the end listener is it banging or is it not banging?
That's real talk.
Exactly.
Boom, there it is.
Or bit depth or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
and the question is that subtle little EQ difference enough to change a banger from a banger to a meh?
I don't know.
I disagree. I believe that subtlety is the difference from the goosebumps and not getting the goosebumps.
Well, maybe for
you.
I think it is for you as a producer because you.
No. I'm a consumer too. Of course, I don't listen to it like everybody else listens to it, but sometimes I'll hear a record in that little, just something.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's subtlety, and you go, "Oh, what was that?" It's just you feel it, you don't hear it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys.
Sense. No, it makes total sense.
You feel it, and you go, "Wow, what was that?" That nuance. It's the nuances, little frequencies that go, "Oh wow."
Right, but what I'm saying is by a producer, I mean like you mentioned taking a track that you did in maybe Logic and moving it over to Reason, and you can hear that difference. I think those little subtle differences may be what keep you from being like, oh man, this is real good, or like, I'm gonna throw this one in the throwaway stash. You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Well, that's the difference between having a beat coming straight out of Reason and then taking that beat and putting it into Studio One and tweaking it, and you're like, whoa.
Right,
it just feels. When you tweak it and you bring it up, you're like, wow, okay, this is a banger. This is not regular. You can make it better than what it was. That absolutely.
Right.
That's what I think. I've experienced that. I've had an average beat, and then I bring it into DAW and start mixing, and you're like, damn, this is crazy.
Yeah. Actually, I have had that happen.
Yeah.
That's true. Like there was this album that I worked on a few years back. The track that I liked the least, once I put it in the DAW and started mixing it, it was like, whoa, the elements came alive to a point.
Right.
It was like, that's now one of my favorite joints on that project. It can happen. It's true.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wonder about is whether or not those subtle differences become extremely enhanced over a loud PA system. So like for a live show, if you're dropping that on, it's something that not a lot of bedroom producers get to experience, but if you're playing your music on huge ass systems, these little changes become huge. Like everything seems to get magnified. So it's like, you might think your bass is cool, but like you get into PA and then you're looking at your boy like, how come his bass is so much better? And you know what I mean? Like, and you might be in the room beforehand, just kind of like with headphones on, like, hey, this is the beat that I'm gonna play. Hey, this is the beat I'm gonna play. And then you guys are listening, like, yeah, they sound similar. But then you get out there on those big speakers, and when you're really pushing large volumes of air, that's when the difference is really kind of showcased to me.
That's a good point.
That's why. But I wonder if I lost touch with the average consumer.
The thing.
Well, yeah, of course you have, Ken.
Right.
We all have. We're too into the nerdery. I think we all have.
You know what it is too. A lot of times, because we've all done it. We've all done the test between at least two or three things at the same time. Like, does it sound better here? Does it sound better there?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get lost in that.
Yeah.
So I had to set a boundary for myself because I'll really get lost in the minor details to the point where I have to have a I don't care level to it. And the thing is, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be good. I've heard things that I did that might not have been done on the best thing, but they translated well because the music.
Time out.
Good.
Time out.
Uh-oh.
You have a strobe light going in your setup? What is that spinning around, bro? I'm seeing lights going around in your room.
Yo, the police are rolling up right now.
Joe's like, no, there's distractions.
No, him.
It's true. I see it.
I see it too. Yeah.
Yo, I've seen his Instagram, man. He always got a light show going on in
Yeah.
You know, a little
That's
chilling,
hilarious.
a little lion taming, you know.
Hey.
Word.
That gets back to it's all about the inspiration, because it might be easier for him to see what he's doing without all that shenanigans going on.
The shenanigans, he calls it.
You gotta set that mood, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Oracle, turn your mic up a little bit if you can.
Oh man, hold on, let me see.
He just has to scream
Yo,
at
Oracle got them lights where like he be having his own parties in his room.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely a session.
Yo, Corey, is that better? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's
I
better.
think that's better. Yeah. So, hey, actually, that was a good little discussion on DAW because that's such a conundrum for a lot of people, and like you said, it's subjective whether or not it's for some people it's a real thing that it sounds different in different DAWs. I've experienced it, but that's when you really nerding out and you kind of zoning in. You're really into your thing. I don't think the average person would really notice that. Yeah.
Can I say something though, Corey?
Go
Like,
for
I
it.
really believe that, mastering and sticking to one DAW is the key. And then, if you want to explore other things, that's cool. But like, when you hop from DAW to DAW, you'll never make a choice.
Good point.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing nowadays, though. It's analysis paralysis, right? It's like when you go buy a light bulb and it's 3 aisles long full of different light bulbs. It's so tough to choose the right one, right?
Decision fatigue is what it's called.
Yeah. And that's the thing that it comes down to with DAW. There's so many choices nowadays. There was a time when there just weren't many choices, and it was what it was, and that's kind of how it came down to Pro Tools being the standard. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there that could touch it, and then nowadays there's so many different things. So yeah, I do believe that there's a lot to be said for choosing what works for you and sticking with it and learning it inside out. And I'm a victim either way sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
I like to use a DAW that is in both platforms. So if I'm collaborating with someone and they have Windows, we all can work.
Yeah. Good point. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Cross-platform is so important with anything that I'm using.
Yeah.
That's true. So, hey, how about
we gonna skip past the fact that Corey said conundrum.
Paralysis. I was on it.
And then Oracle followed up with decision fatigue. Like, we just gonna skip past all that. We just all nerd. We just so immune to it. We just like
yeah, it is a conundrum.
Oh man.
Yeah, but hold it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Hey, man, you gotta do it how you do it, man. I didn't even know I said conundrum actually.
No, you didn't. And then Oracle followed up. He's like, "Nah, man, that's decision fatigue." I'm like, "All right, these brothers is going in. They going in."
Hey, JK. So Joe, look at these two. Look at their skin. First of all, what do you expect?
I'm not even switching up for that.
You already know. We already discussed it.
Okay, it's clear.
Yeah.
All right.
We know they exfoliate.
There's a lot of fresh water being thrown over there. There's a lot of fruit.
We talking upper echelon, high class.
Okay, absolutely.
Hey, Corey, they say we in the 1% of moisturized people.
The 1% of moisturized people.
Corey's teeth look like the Tic Tacs. You know, the little white Tic Tacs.
Oh boy,
that ain't cool. I'm not saying that no more. So hey, I'm about to let's move to we definitely moving on from that. Let's
Are you gonna touch on
DeepMind? Yeah, the DeepMind 12. So hey, I don't know how many of us. Well, I know that me, Ken, and Joe and Bryce have been talking about DeepMind a little too much. I don't know if Oracle and Stoni, have y'all heard about DeepMind? DeepMind 12. It's a new synth by.
No, I come here to learn.
Yeah. So the DeepMind 12 is a new 12-voice synthesizer from Behringer, of all places.
Analog.
Yeah, 12-voice analog polyphonic synthesizer. And the I think what they're saying is based on is kind of like the Juno or the JX3P, but it's much more expanded, obviously with 12 voices. and it has a lot of tricks it can do, which hence the name DeepMind. Now, one, I don't really dig the name DeepMind, so I'll be henceforth referring to it as the DM12.
As long as it's not the BM12.
Oh man.
Word. But so Ken, what's your thoughts on this joint, man?
Yo, let me just. I'm gonna say a couple of quick things. I'm gonna get this out of the way. I already contacted Behringer, and really more specifically, it's not really just Behringer that's making it. It's Midas, right? Which is the same team that did the X32. You know, these are Midas engineers. Like, these are not slouches. But I already kind of contacted them and talked to them a little bit, and it's looking like I'm either gonna have an interview or I'm gonna fly out to Chicago and meet with them at KnobCon or do something. But I'm deeply interested because the price point that they also released is they're talking about retail price point of $999.
Which is crazy.
And here's the real crazy part is that when I was informed that they were going to be making an analog synth, my first thought was, oh well, they can do it cheaper than anybody else because they own Cool Audio. I
remember you saying that. Yep.
They own all the chip manufacturers that make the analog chips to make these analog synths cheap, right?
Right.
But then it comes out that it's not even a synth on a chip. They're doing it all discrete. Right, so the filter and everything that used to be a synth on a chip filter in the Juno 106 is now all discrete. Like they're doing, which
means more components.
Talk about the fact that it's a clone, that it has a somewhat cloned architecture and this and that, but at the same time, it's like they're not doing it, as a direct clone. They're doing it no more cloned than. Some of the Eurorack modules, like they have Curtis chip and SSM chip filters that are done discreetly. That's not necessarily considered a clone, but at the same time, it's the same circuit idea, So right. That combined with the fact that it's TC electronic effects built in.
Yeah. Who else? There's another effects. There's other effects too, right?
I'm dying to hear it with my own ears.
Somebody else, there's another effects company on there. It was actually
Clark Technic.
Yeah.
So I mean these are all fairly high-end companies that they're using. Like Clark Technic is like high-end studio desk type hardware. They deal with a lot of like routing and things like that. But, I'm personally really excited. They showed a desktop module that is a prototype or like a mock-up. And if they do that desktop module, I'll be really hyped because I don't need more keys. Like, I got plenty of keys. Give me the desktop module to place somewhere in here. And
exactly. Like, you don't need more anything.
I'm hyped.
You ain't even got a place to put it.
Modulation.
Flux is gonna start just extending stuff from strings off the ceiling.
I've only heard one thing that I don't like about it so far. The only thing that I've heard that kind of made me like ho-hum a little bit is that you can't modulate one oscillator with another oscillator, which I would have really liked to have done direct FM like that. But you can modulate them with LFOs that can go up into audio range, which is cool. But
they got some pretty deep routing too, right?
They've
been alluding to some deep routing.
Yeah, and they also said there's some features they haven't even talked about yet. So there's some hidden stuff that we haven't even seen yet. So who knows what that is,
So my question to you, I guess my question to everybody, from me not knowing about this, hearing what I heard, knowing the price, how many of you would buy one?
Man, I think I'm sold.
See hands up.
I'm sold.
I want the rack mount though. I don't necessarily need more keys.
Regardless, like I'll have it just for the simple fact of, more likely than not, for that price point, it's kind of a damn near no-brainer, and it's to me, it's like I've got a couple other things in the studio, a couple other analog synths and poly synths and whatnot, but like to me, I used to have a 106 back in the day, and it wasn't my favorite synth, but at the same time, the things that this one can do on top of that, to me, it's like, for that price point, that's just crazy. Like, why would I pass it up? Like, I don't think it's ever going to lose so much value that it's going to be a bad buy. Like, I bet you, like, even if they make 1 billion of these things, I don't think the price point's going to drop that far,
And here's the other thing about it. The fact that it's not a clone, but it's sort of based on a couple of classics.
Right.
You know what I mean? See, because to me, the Juno 106, as classic as it is, I think I've heard it so much throughout my lifetime that it's just not exciting to me. You know what I mean?
But
But
106 was just like the LFO, like this was just mine, but like, man, that thing was the helicopter synth from hell. Like, it was like so easy to just get out of whack, and like it just everything I made on it just ended up sounding like a helicopter. Like, it was crazy. But
well, that's the thing. So with this being kind of based on those classics, what's cool about that is that, okay, so now you got a synth that's based on something that is so widely known, so well loved, but it's not a clone. So it's not limited that way. It's like based on it, so you get the stuff that you love, but then it's wildly expanded to almost something new. And so I think that's what's dope about it.
It's hands-on control, which is the biggest thing to me, is like the thing that really knocks down a lot of the price value on analog synths, because analog synths, because they're not emulations, they don't go out of style. You know what I mean? It's like you can't look at an analog synth and be like, oh, well, back then they didn't really model analog synths as well as they could now. It's an analog synth. So really the main barrier for them things is how much hands-on control and tweakability do you have. So like the Corry Poly 800, you know, those things you can get them for under $300 these days, but there's not a lot of hands-on control there. You know, a lot of these older analog poly synths that you can get for dirt cheap these days are all ones that don't have hands-on control. Like I got an Oberheim Matrix 1000 right here. Sounds amazing, but you don't have a lot of hands-on control. Like really, you don't have any. So it's like this thing, especially if they do the desktop, you know, it doesn't take up a lot of room. It's not even the keyboard. It's not that deep. It's got a really nice screen so you can tell what you're doing on it. It looks like you can route lots of things around. Fader control I really like. I feel like fader control is really immediate, and it's especially if you're sound designing and you want to make like drums or something really quick. I love faders for that, for envelopes and things like that.
Right.
So to me, I don't see this thing dropping in value very much, you know, over time.
Right.
Yeah, as long as they build it well too, like you know,
that's
technology-wise, it's cool. As long as it's well built, I mean, and what I'm hearing is wood and metal, so you know, as long as everything there lines up, it definitely looks like it's gonna be a winner. I'm somebody that stalks, you know, Junos and JX3Ps and all that stuff, so it's definitely something that interests me. At the price point, because it's like, well, you know, the price point for some of those are still kind of up there. If I could spend
like way up there.
You know, I could spend like 200-300 more. You know, if we're talking like JX3P or the 106. Now, if you're talking about Juno 60, Juno 6, stuff like that, then you know you get up there even more. But I mean, it's definitely something I'm interested in. I'm looking forward to playing with it. That's at the end of the day, it has to sound good. Like I want to hear it for myself and play with it.
You guys know if it has a sub oscillator?
It has a sub when you right under the high pass filter. There's a sub button. I'm not sure if that's a dedicated oscillator or how that works, or if it's like an EQ thing.
It's like a bass boost. It has like a bass boost for when you're doing something with the filter. But I don't know if
that was the only thing about it that kind of made me want a little bit, was just like I would really like to see a full 3 oscillator poly or whatever. But at this price point, I'm not arguing. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not.
I mean, what I really like about it is you can, run everything from your iPad as far as the routing. So you can.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, that's dope.
From your iPad. Yeah, it has built-in Wi-Fi, so your iPad connects right to it, and you can adjust everything from your iPad. So
now you're selling to me now with stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I was hyped when I saw that, man, and it's like it has 1,024 different patch banks, right? And I think 32 effects, right? Is it 32 effects or?
It's a lot.
I could have sworn
a lot of effects.
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of effects, and then there's 4 slots.
Yeah, and then there's 4 slots for each you can have 4 effects chained.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a minute, because I've talked to some other people who were not so high, and some of these people are fairly high up in the synth community as far as manufacturers and whatnot. I'm not going to name names because that really just wouldn't be right. But some of them have well, obviously the first concern of everybody is build quality because it's Behringer based. But what I'll say about that is what I've heard is zero negative things about the X32, and this is the same team.
Right.
So to me, and I've got, you know, some boutique manufacturers that have had some build quality issues. So I'm not like, to me it's like build quality you can't talk about until you actually have it in your hands and something actually breaks.
Yeah, it's
there's
something
a
you definitely
percentage of
got to
every
see
unit that's going to break. I'm not putting much stock into it until it actually breaks, you know.
But look how beautiful though this rack mount is though. The rack mount to me is just like really dope. Look at that.
And you know, minus that keyboard, that thing's gonna be probably like $799, man, for that rack.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. And the other thing is that we heard retail $999. Now we don't know if that's MSRP or if that's actual in-store cost. Because if that's MSRP, it could be $899.
Then it's dropping. Exactly.
You know, for the
that's
keys.
Crazy. Yeah.
And that's insanity. Like
that is.
Buying that. Like, why are you so?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Have they talked about a release date or anything like that? Have you heard anything, Ken?
I've heard closer to Christmas time. So.
Oh wow! So before NAMM. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, like I'm going to be talking to them hopefully soon. Hopefully I'll get them on the Synth Summit show, which is plug my own show. But
I'm gonna be right there with you. Me too. I got questions.
So there's another modular meet coming up very soon called the Leeds Modular Meet. Again, Midas is based in the UK. So right now a lot of their in-person press is in the UK. But I talked to them and they said that possibly they'll be at KnobCon. So I've already taken off work. Like I'm already ready to go fly out to Chicago. But my question to you guys is, you guys remember the lawsuits that Behringer had previously where they had copied Mackie mixers and gotten sued over it? Do you guys have any qualms about supporting a company that was taking other people's designs and then having sweatshop kids basically build them?
Well, didn't somebody do that with the Moog filter back in the day? And who was that?
Well, you're talking about art.
Art
did. Yeah, it was a huge thing.
Because back then it was that was almost equivalent to, you know, when sampling first came out, and then the first sampling lawsuits happened. So like to me, like that's a little bit. That's not quite the same thing as
that was
a
the
mixer
industry
company literally copying a circuit board and then saying this is our mixer and then producing it in China for cheaper, you know?
Well, you know what that was with the earlier filter stuff? That was the industry taking shape, right? So that was things were kind of defining themselves, right? But I'll tell you, to your question, do I have any qualms about supporting a company that has some previous problems with, I don't know, intellectual property or whatever they want to call it? Nah, I ain't got no problems with that.
Listen,
if they making a dope product and it's gonna suit my needs, I'm with it. That's it. They've gotten over that. They got over them little drug problems they had.
Supply and demand, basically.
Yeah, man. Yep.
I feel like it's a valid question though, just because, you know, we get into these discussions, especially as sound designers, where we talk about how upset we get about when people, you know, steal our shit, basically, you know, and you know, are stealing either our songs or our sounds or whatever else. And to me, it's like I'll be honest with you, it doesn't make me the happiest person in the world to throw $1,000 towards them as opposed to Dave Smith, who, you know, he's been putting out his stuff, you know, whether, you know, and Moog and, you know, the other companies. But at the same time, I have to say, oh, good God, you got to look at what they're able to do. And, yeah, you know what? I'll have more money later for these other companies. Maybe I'm an asshole.
You know, I could understand where you're coming from, but you know what? The thing that kind of, if that's a problem, I think the thing that probably brings a little peace of mind to the situation is the fact that they're actively trying to change their image. You know what I mean?
And they have been. Like I've heard literally not a single bad thing about the X32. which was really their major coming out product after acquiring Midas and trying to move towards, you know, changing their image basically, because you know, back when they had the old Eurorack mixers, which when I say Eurorack, I'm not talking about synthesizer, I'm talking about the old Eurorack, you know, mixers, like they were stealing from Behringer and all that, or from Mackie and that sort of thing. It seems like they've made a concerted effort to really change their image and try to do things differently. Now, people, I've heard a lot of different, you know, some people really don't jibe well with the way
Siri talking to me.
With the way, what's his name, Yuli Behringer?
Yeah.
You know, some people don't jibe well with the way he runs his company, whatever. But I'm not close enough to really see that from day to day, and I'm not really reading every, you know, article about what he did or didn't do, so I'm not really stressing on it, to be honest with you. Maybe I should. Maybe that would make me a better person. But at the end of the day,
but you know, this is, you know, we have a sense of we're a different group, right? So I think we have a sense of loyalty because we know a lot of people in the industry, because, you know, we meet a lot of people in the industry, and then we all have products and stuff of our own.
But doesn't that give us at the same time a little bit of a responsibility to convey to other people, like, hey, you know, just be aware of these issues?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But
I mean, yeah, explain that. I want to understand that.
No.
It really depends on your moral compass. But my thing is this: the type of person I am, if I know certain things, that's going to sway my judgment.
Yeah.
Will I tell other people about those things? Probably. But if they don't care, that's on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll put it out there, but I know you don't care about it as much as I care about it. So I'm not gonna buy one, but you might, and I'm not faulting you for it. That's kind of the thing. The more you know, the more involved you are, and then you have all these different things pulling on you. Like you said, the moral responsibility, and I have it. We all have it. But my man, when I tell him, hey man, you know, they got like 3-year-old kids in a sweatshop making this job.
Hey, you know what that is though. That's like chicken and stuff that you know, people ain't farming. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know that you kill a live thing. To them, chicken is an inanimate object that comes wrapped.
Stop making me hungry, man.
Right, but the idea is, if you have some moral like problems with the way, you know, what the chickens will kill, inhumane or not, I know it's a kind of far out analogy, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of companies do that maybe a lot of us don't know about and aren't aware of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This group, we kill our own food, so we
word.
Well, I mean,
I don't even kill the food. I eat it while it's still alive. So
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
They get mad at me.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on that.
I'm eating it right now.
And then, I mean, too, you know, also a lot of times I find that it's one thing to kind of hear something, it's one thing to know something, but then it's also one thing if something happens directly to you. Like there may have been companies where I know for a fact certain things go on, and so those are companies that I don't support, you know. And people will be like, yo, what do you think about this? Well, I just don't support that company for personal reasons. Now, on that note, I don't go around saying, hey, stay away from this company, because hey, you might benefit from that company, but for me, you won't see me supporting certain things because of my knowledge and interaction into it's not a rumor, it's not hearsay, it's what I know.
First-hand knowledge. Word.
Yeah.
Exactly, Joe, and that's my point. I'm not gonna ask you to change your Facebook profile picture to a boycott sign. But something that I know that I can. I'll do that myself, but I'm not gonna ask other people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that I try to use Joe is my moral compass. Like, Joe is the angel that sits on my shoulder.
He's using a whole external person as his moral
compass. I'm the first person to tell you I'm just a bad dude, like all the way around. I'm drinking a Kentucky coffee. Like I'm gluttony in my studio. I refer to Joe.
It's like a
Can we rename Joe? Can we call Joe like Joe Xavier?
Billy Joe
It's
for a
already
reason.
Saint Joe. It's already
Joe, King Joe, Joe Xavier. That's the name. That's the dude's name from X-Men, right? It's Xavier.
That's right.
What's the dude's name?
What would Joe do?
That's Professor Joe.
Professor Joe. Professor Joe
Joe.
Xavier. Professor Joe.
Wow.
But yeah,
No, but
at the end of the day, man, that thing, you know, I've heard some people say, oh, well, you know, it needs all those effects just to sound good and this and that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but at the same time, I haven't had it underhand.
Here's my point, and here's my thing, because you hear that a lot of times. Well, it doesn't sound good without the effects. Well, so what? They put the effects on there for a reason. Like that's part of the sound. That's part of the sound. That's like saying I got a cheeseburger. Oh, it don't taste the same without the cheese. Well, that's because it's not a cheeseburger anymore. It's part of the whole thing. Like, what are you talking about? That's part of the package. Like that car ain't dope if you don't got the wheels on it. Well, that's part of it. Like
I'm just letting you know now. So you know.
And here's the thing too about effects. There's a preference, right? If the effects were stuck on,
right,
that sucks. Who the hell wants something where the effects are stuck on?
Right.
Turn it off, and then now you have some flexibility. Hey,
exactly.
On my Prophet 6, there's effects there. Some sounds I love with the effects. Some sounds I hate with the effects. Some sounds I hate the effects that they have programmed. If I turn it, I could change the effects. So I mean, that's kind of the thing of when it comes down to a synth, and part of the beauty of a synth is being able to put your hands on it and make it into what you want it to be. You know what I mean? And if it's good effects, then you can take it a notch higher. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
That's just never bothered me, man. Like it's like, well, if you take the effects off, it doesn't sound the same. Well, that's kind of the whole point. Like
that's
it's
the
polished
point.
Up. That's what they're trying to present. Like that's part of the whole presentation. Like if you take it off, of course it's going to sound different because you took away a part of the puzzle. So what
do you guys think about the fact that because it's Behringer, I've seen a lot of people ragging on it just for the fact of the name, you know, not aside from the ethical issues, but just aside from the fact, oh, it's Behringer, so it must be cheap. But like they're saying,
I've never had a problem with Behringer anyway. I like the fact that I could get a mixer for $59 and hook all my stuff up. I don't I've used Behringer many a times over the years. It doesn't bother me at all. So I've never had none of my Behringer stuff break. I've had Mackie stuff break.
Yeah, and to me,
personal opinion, personal experience. I still buy Mackie, I still buy Behringer. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, it's all comes down to, because every company's gonna put out stuff that breaks. I mean, you know,
that's part of
we can go through the studio and look at all the stuff that, you know, since they had keyboard problems and all types of stuff. But I mean, it's all personal experience to me at the end of the day.
Talking about like, oh well, it doesn't sound great without the effects and this and that, and at the same time, I'm like, well, how come I didn't hear people like when the Prophet 12 right here came out? I didn't hear people saying, oh well, if you don't turn that character girth section up. Don't laugh when I say girth, Stoni. I saw that. But I didn't hear people complaining about the Prophet 12, like when you turn these certain sections up, you know, and turn the delays on and this and that. Oh, well, then it doesn't sound right and this and that. I feel like there's a lot of slack being given towards Behringer just for the simple fact of the name, and it's like, to me,
it's always been that though.
Product on its nose.
Well, I mean, it's always been there, and that's just something that Behringer has to deal with. You know, that's their fault. At the end of the day, they they got a reputation out there they built up, and it's up to them to change it. But at the end, for me, like I've always had people say, stay away from Behringer, this, and that. Look, when I was coming up, man, I can only afford certain things, and Behringer was there and allowed me to do what I needed to do at the end of the day. And so, and that's still what they're doing. Like with this synth, it's $1,000. They're trying to put 12 voices of analog synthesis into the hands of people that can't afford 25, can't afford the Prophet 6s and all this other stuff. And so it's like, hey, you know what it is going in. So I mean, you know, there's gonna be people that are gonna stay away from it. That's fine. Just like there's people that stay away from their mixers and everything else. But guess what? There's a lot of other people that still buy it,
and they still do well.
Yeah.
I've had a Behringer interface I've been using for years, and people are like, "Why the hell are you using that?" And I'm like, "Because it's dope. You're gonna find out. You know, like when FL with Fruity Loops and people was ragging on it. all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a standard DAW. You know what I mean? You got to go through that process of where you might have been perceived one way, but you'll eventually be perceived another way. But it's that middle ground that they're on.
Right. But it's like, but at the same time, even with FL, even though it's potentially perceived a certain way, there's still certain people that are still gonna always look at it like, nah, man, I can't mess with it, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like you can't be for everybody, and that's cool. But it's what you think is not gonna bother me at all. Like, you know, like you said, I use this Behringer thing because it's dope. Like, what you talking about? Like, have you heard my music? It doesn't affect that. I'm good.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And then too, you know what? So that's all the subjectivity too. But we know there's products out there that may not be. You know, there's all levels of quality. Like there's this top-notch quality, there's some mid-tier, and then there's some entry-level stuff. But you know what? You'll find some top-tier producers that use some entry-level stuff just because they like the character, they like something about it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot, right? So, and that kind of, because especially in hip hop, because we'll take something and you know, some engineer that designed it may be like, next time I gotta improve, and we've taken out all those things that were mistakes, and we like, don't that's what makes it dope. That's what makes it dope. You know what I mean? Like that's the dirt, that's the goodness.
Right,
you know right. So that's kind of like.
I would argue that when I look around at, you know, a lot of famous producers, I would say more often than not, I see a lot of budget gear in there, or very minimal setups and that kind of thing. More often than I see, you know, like, we're sound designers and we're people who are fanatics about this stuff. But like when I see like just the regular, you know, and I'm using the term regular kind of loosely, but regular artists and producers that are using their pre-production setups where they're coming up with their ideas and this and that before they go into, you know, the really expensive studios or whatever. It's almost always budget gear, and it's like maybe like an MPC and like, you know, like a simple mixer, one turntable, and like not even a great mixer to go with the turntable. Like a lot of the times it's a beat up Vestax from back in the day, or it's like or like even a crappy Newmark that, you know, the crossfader's probably been changed 4 or 5 times, and you know that the amount of money that they spent on the crossfaders, they could have bought a better mixer, but they didn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like look at some of these pre-production studios, and it's almost always like, you know, crappy equipment, you know, crappy.
But that's hip hop though, something out of nothing, right?
Yeah,
that's very something true. Out of nothing.
You know, very true.
Like I said, it's about the end result, because I know a lot of quote-unquote famous producers, and they're like, yo, what should I use? And you name it, and they're like, bet, I'm going to get that. They're not like, well, what's the specs on it? Yeah, if it's dope, it's dope. If it's not, it's not. And I forgot who said, I think it was Corry or Bryce, that's hip-hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You use what you have, and then you come out with something dope. And that's really where I'm at. I spent my years of being bogged down in specs and with the calculators and all that.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. Let me tell you though too. Let me tell you though too. I had an experience that is and actually it's my first time blogging. I blogged about this experience as a guest blogger on someone else's blog, but I had a guy invest in me at one point. I was making an album. You know, I was much more deep into MCing at that point before I got totally sucked in with gear and production. I mean, I had my own setup then, but it certainly, you know, it was kind of in its infancy stages. And so I made these couple cuts at the crib, and they were dope. Like to a point where this dude, he had become my manager, and he was investing money, and we had these big plans, and he's like, yo, my wife don't even listen to nothing else but these 2 songs. Like in our car, ain't nothing in there but these 2 songs. She goes to sleep with headphones on listening to these 2 songs. Like, and I'm like, great, I'm managing an artist that my wife is crushing on him or something with his music. You know what I mean? And this is stuff that I just did in a very little modest bedroom. And I even recently put a picture of it, of the little studio setup up on Instagram. And so this little modest setup, it was so, you know, it was like straight up turntable, some sort of preamp, a controller, a laptop, and an MPC. You know what I'm saying? And like I was ready to go. I was in business, you know what I mean? And so I made these couple joints, and these joints were dope. Like even sometimes I would play them, like the mix was good and everything seemed so on point. You know, there wasn't no room noise on the vocals, and the vocals seemed to punch right. And it seems like, you know, y'all know those moments when you feel like, oh, I got everything right. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is right. So then this dude that was investing in me, he was like, yo, we're going to go to this studio in Burbank. It's like $1 million room. I'll invest. I want to make sure we get the best recording and mix of these songs, and we're going to move forward from there. We went in the studio, and it was the worst experience of my life. Man. Now, this studio is $1 million room. Actually, it's Fresh Prince's studio, Will Smith's studio. And it's a dope room. A lot of dope stuff had been made there. There was nothing but top quality stuff and gear that I had only seen in pictures before. And, you know, I came there, we exported my session and everything, we put it in, and then, of course, there was these suggestions where Cat was like, now let's make these drums punch, and I'm like, yo, they, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we gonna mix, but we're not changing the drum sounds, you know what I mean? And so they're like, no, we're gonna change the drum sounds because we got this, you know, this mixer plixer, whatever thing in the corner that's like all this money and it's gonna make everything sound better. So we end up messing with the drums, yo, and I mean, it was like a lot of stuff that happened, and then I re-recorded the vocals, which shouldn't have happened because I happened to get the vocals right. So we re-recorded the vocals, and then so there was something lost on the energy. At the end of the day, you know, I had a DJ come through. He got down. The dude got busy, but the product was so glossy and flossy after that it was like, yo, we removed all the soul from this joint. I don't know what this is. This vanilla hip hop shit that y'all trying to make me do. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Corey, can I say something?
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times what people miss, like you said, you know, you got the expensive studios and you got the $1 million engineer that's got all his platinum plaques and all of these different things, but like something as simple as, like in my studio at home, I have, you know, I got the fancy chair and I got the 2 monitors, and people's been to my Instagram, they see my setup, right? But when I'm creating, I actually sit on a beanbag on the floor, no socks on, barefoot, just like as casual and as relaxed as I possibly can be.
Wow.
The environment, your energy, everything.
It is.
I don't care how fly. Like I'll go into I've had those same experiences. I go into a spot and it's got all this great stuff, and I just can't feel anything. And I'm so uncomfortable, and all the technical, everything is technically perfect, but there's no.
The energy is not right.
Right.
There's no I don't know what the word is. There's just no. It's not feeling.
Vibe.
It's an energy, but you can't capture a moment. There's just
that
something
inspiration.
that
That
happens.
inspiration. Yeah.
That's what's
You know,
up.
that's like you're doing a song, and you know you got a guy come in, and you know his sneakers are turned up, and he's not well dressed, and his haircut is not as tight, but you give him a bass or you give him a guitar and he starts playing, and you're just like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? He's amazing. And then you got the fancy guy who's in the union and his line is tight and he's got the jewelry on, and he's playing, and you're like, bro, you're trash.
Put something on it. Yeah, put something on it, man. Right.
You know, it's like you have to do things that it has to feel good. It just sometimes it's not in the polished places. The magic never.
And that's my point. Yeah. That's exactly my point, because what I got from that experience is, and you know, the interesting thing is that wasn't the first very expensive and totally polished and technologically sound place that I'd ever been, but there was just something about that experience when you already have something that you've captured, like you said, captured a moment. You may not, everything came together. You gotta know. When it all comes together, it don't matter about all the rest of that stuff. No, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it can all come together with a damn can and a string.
You know what though, Corey? That actually translates into the culture of the beat making as well. Because what happens is people see guys like I'm not gonna say any names. They see A-list guys, A-list producers. So and so's using this, and so and so's using that. So I want to have so and so's sound. I'm gonna do exactly what he's doing because his studio looks polished and it looks all fancy. You know what I mean? Like I had a friend of mine. He used a program called, I think it was Reaper.
Yeah, that was my joint. Yeah.
It was Reaper, and he pressed play, and I was just like, oh, this stuff is incredible. He doesn't have push. He ain't got all the fancy.
I think Reaper is what, $60 for
$60.
full license.
And I think he had
donationware basically.
Yeah, I think his was like, I think it was like $30 that he paid for this thing, but his music was incredible.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the fancy stuff. And when I say it translates to the beat making culture, is that cats feel now that if they don't have, like somebody said to me, yo, Stoni, if I get the Machine Studio, I want to step it up. I got the micro, but I want to step it up and go to the Machine Studio so my beats can sound like your beats. And I'm just like, what
it's not that though.
It's the same software.
Yeah. Let me tell you. Give me a hammer and some wood.
There you go.
And that don't make me a carpenter.
Hey, Corey, let me say this though. On a real, like I've been in a situation where, so for the past few years, I've been primarily focused on sound design, more so than the music that I was making, but primarily sound design because that's what I enjoy doing, you know. But when it comes down to actually making the music, like 90% of this stuff, I'm like, I don't even want to look at. Like, I just want to focus on like my machine and like maybe like a bass synth and like, you know, I got samples that I made with this stuff, but you know, I use it pretty much the same way that anybody who would buy one of my sample packs would use it. Because the fact of the matter is, this stuff just confuses the
process.
The process of getting the emotion out. Like
very true.
Ken is like I speak to a lot of people and they're like, well, Stoni, you got push and you got machine and you got this. Yes, I'm a professional doing product specialist work. We're professionals. You're doing sound design and you know Black is doing drum kits and everything. When we're producing, we don't even use 10% of the stuff we have. Like producing and then following somebody who is a designer and sound designer and this is their 9 to 5 and we have to know all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And at the average producer or a beat maker, bro, you just need one tool. Just master that and just go ham. Like you need all these bells and whistles.
Very true.
And like I had a friend of mine, he said to me,
never use this stuff for sound design, but I use it when I'm producing. You know what I mean? Like I don't use vinyl when I'm making sounds, but at the same time, dude, that's like go-to when I want to make music for fun, or just to be inspired.
But people get caught up in the fact that they think that you need all of these things to sound better. No, you need to be a better you. The better you are,
man.
Use matters less and less. The more control, the more discipline, and the more you know yourself and your technique.
Man,
exactly. Yeah. I think that's a. Go ahead, Oracle.
I was gonna say you can get down to the sticks and the stones and a microphone and make something that's jamming. A lot of the music that I listen to, that's my favorite music, is recorded so shitty. It is terrible.
Listen to MF
so
Doom.
Jamming. You know?
Yeah.
Operation Doomsday is like my go-to, and that's like, dude, that's like the worst recordings of all time.
It is. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yep. I listen to a lot of music like that too. I listen to a lot of music like that too. Like a lot of cats are using the SP404, and that's I like a lot of music that comes from that. The guys that are just using just that sampler, you know, and a lot of people think it's crappy, it doesn't sound good, the mix isn't good and such, but you know, it's I guess it comes down to just, you know, learning your tool, you know.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. That's exactly what it comes down to. And I'll speak to like something that Ken was saying. You know what I realized, Ken, is that, you know, there's been times when I look around my studio and be like, yo, I need to trim the fat. You know what I mean? I need to trim the fat and get rid of stuff. But you know what? Then I started realizing if I point to one thing and think I'm going to get rid of that, and then maybe I'll get rid of that. You know what the process is in my head? whether or not I use it as a sound designer or use it as a producer. And then that makes
that's my thing is like,
right. So then you start to realize, yeah, I only use 3 things when I'm producing, right? But then I use this other stuff when I'm like sound designing and creating other stuff. You know what I mean?
That's my thing is like my actual production has basically like the actual tools that I use for producing music has for the most part stayed the same since like 04. Like it's really basic stuff.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But now a lot of the stuff that I used to have to sample, I don't have to sample anymore because I can create it. So like I'll create these sounds and then I can use that, and now I don't have to pay for royalties or any of that stuff because I have my own sounds. But you know, none of this do I need to make a banging hip-hop beat. However, now that I can create those sounds, I don't have to worry about sample clearances. That's really the only difference.
Ballin'.
Word. Like you sitting there with the...
By the way, check my bling status.
Check my bling.
Ballin'.
Well, see, that's the thing.
You know,
so, like,
wait, hold on. You know what, Corey?
Yeah.
You know what, Corey? What I do? I'm going to tell you what I do now. What I do now is, if I use the MP, I'll unplug it and I'll put it away, so I don't have to see it.
Yeah. My MP is hidden behind these mirrors.
Yeah, I put stuff away.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'm just gonna be all over the place.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, so when it comes down to clearing up clutter, sometimes maybe we might just put something away, like Stoni said, man.
That's it. Yeah,
I got a lot of stuff over there on the shelf. Like a few of y'all have seen my show. I got a lot of stuff over there on the shelf.
We know, Joe.
I pull it out when I need it. But if I ain't using it, it got to go. Like
Good point.
Yo, Corey, I was talking to Joe like 2 days ago, and he had the Machine Studio on the desk. Hold up. 2 days before that, he had the touch on the desk. You look at the nigga desk now, he got the push on the desk.
That's the thing.
Joe knows me, and Joe was sitting in my studio one night, and we started talking about something. I was like, "Word, I'm gonna go get it." And then and so that is indicative to like I'll put stuff in the garage on the shelf in a minute. You know what I mean? And it'll be there, and I'll go get it when I need it, and then put it back out there.
Right. The difference between me and you is the stuff you pulling out that's hidden is like gems. Like he's like, yo, I'm gonna go grab this MPC 60 with Roger Lynn's signature on it. He's like, oh, hold up, let me go grab this ASR. I've been working on this ASR.
Oh man. It's
That's
true.
Like Ken the same way. Ken, like, we'll be sitting here talking like, oh, wait a minute, let me go grab this MPC. I got it sitting over here under these records. Like, it's sitting on top of it.
Oh, wait, no. Be clear that when Ken pulls his MPC out, it's all green. It's custom.
I got a little wall of shame over here of like all these different.
Right.
Look, it's all dipped in green. Everything. Hey, you know what? I wanna switch things up a little bit. So look, for my modular cats here, I want to switch things up. We got a lot. All of us are sample heads, right? So we know all these different samplers, and Ken and Bryce are kind of like the straight up modular heads. As you know, we kind of dip into this thing. As I'm definitely learning and growing and getting into it. But you know what I gotta say, y'all, I wanted to talk about samplers and Eurorack modular format. It's something that I still can't quite wrap my head around, and not sure if I dig the idea. I haven't really messed with any samplers in Eurorack, but it seems to be the trend right now, samplers in Eurorack, and then drum modules, obviously. It seems to be those are the things that's like the come up right now. So like, I don't know, like how different is the paradigm of sampling in Eurorack versus, you know, sampling on a sampler, right? Or, you know, because they seem to be just different. Like it doesn't seem to have the same movement or the same, you know, process as you would on a sampler.
Well, let me touch on that real quick because I know Ken, he'll go deep on it. So, but the way I kind of see it is like, okay, if you have a Eurorack sampler, you can put samples in there and then trigger them. But as far as moving around on the pads, like on an MPC, you can move around on the pads and say, okay, I want to try this, or I want to try this, or I want to try this with your chops if you have something chopped up. When you have something in a Eurorack sampler, it's more difficult to move around and play around like that and just experiment. So that's the one thing I've noticed. It's just like, since you're using control voltage to really kind of control everything, it's really kind of more structured, and it keeps you in more of a little, like, you know, where you can't really experiment like that. That's my little you know, talk on it. But I'm sure Ken, he had the phonogene and stuff, so.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say is, like, so I really wanted sampling on the modular to be amazing, and I wanted it, you know, from a sound design perspective especially, to be really, like, mind blown on it. There's a realization that I came from it, which basically is, one, a lot of the chips that actually do sample playback, like from a modular designer's perspective, it's hard for them to do a good sampler that has low latency, right? So that's why you don't see a ton of them out there. But the thing that I've noticed is that realistically, samplers and modular, you got to think of them totally different in the way that you would think of like an MPC or something. And the real problem is that the whole reason why we want these modular samplers to be so good is because we really haven't had a hardware sampler that breaks the mold in an interesting way in a long time. That's what I think is upsetting us and is making us want to look towards, like, the phonogene is an expensive piece of modular gear. That sucker is like $560 or some crap.
Yeah, it's up there.
It doesn't really have memory. Like, you can't store multiple samples in it. You got to do it real time on the fly. It can slice, but it's still a mono voice. Like,
see, say it again, though, Oracle.
Oh nah.
Yeah. I mean, like, so the interesting part of the modular with sampling is that you can use control voltage to do things like controlling pitch really fast, like with an oscillator, or, you know, slicing things up in really, like, granular ways, and, like, so you can use a modular sampler to do things that you wouldn't traditionally do by hand, right? But beyond that,
excuse me, can I say something really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah. You know I shut up for you.
Something about when you talk about modular just does something to me.
I know. That's why I talk about it around you.
Y'all need a private
I'm just
room.
saying, that is your plug.
All of a sudden, all of us are kind of like,
yeah.
To me, but listen, the bottom line is this. Look, so there's recently been some new samplers out there. So there's the Qubit Wave, right, which is like a 4-voice, I think, sampler playback, right? Not an actual sampler, but sample playback. Then you have Disting MK2 or MK3 or whatever it is that can do sample playback, which to me, I don't understand. I don't think I see an advantage to getting the Wave over just getting 4 Distings, you know, and doing the same thing individually like that. Then you've got the Phonogene, and you've got whatever the one is from what's the orange company? Harvestman.
You got the ADAC too. The ADAC
and the ADAC, yeah. But all of these things, like, none of them, you know, and the Rossum one, the one coming from Dave Rossum, which is EMU, that one shows the most promise. But even that, like, to me, basically what I've come to recognize is, you know, you're better off with an actual hardware sampler and running it through your modular than actually trying to, you know, do modular sampling, you know.
I agree.
Unless you're trying to do something very specific, and just don't expect it to be super fun. Like, Phonogene is fun, but it's for the money and everything. I'm sorry, like, it didn't stay in my rack, and I may get one again one day, but I'm disappointed at sampling in modular.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's like it feels real limited. I'm disappointed
at sampling in hardware too.
Wow.
Oh well, did you?
All right.
But you know what, that's the thing. So I think in my mind, when I think samplers, and y'all know when we're texting and stuff about kind of stuff, when I think samplers and Eurorack, it does not appeal to me very well. Like, because my mind goes sampler, you know, what we know as a traditional sampler.
Right.
And when we look at the Eurorack, like, okay, so now you got to go through some extra trouble to trigger these things, and there's not a lot of memory as we know it. And
once you start triggering things, it becomes a secondary piece of equipment to me.
It does. It does.
A traditional sampler is more like a workstation.
Exactly.
Word.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Yeah, the whole module. I mean, ergonomically, I save hella real estate on anything that's modular, but just first of all, it's pressing outwards because a lot of times the rack is facing. I'm pressing this way as opposed to pressing down. That
right.
Yeah. On a functional level.
Right.
It's just not the same. So I think of it like a VST. Like I might use that, I might not. Whereas a sampler, I'm like, shit, I might do the whole thing on here.
Right. And Eurorack definitely doesn't offer you that feel. Like when you get on the MPC, you're like, okay, I can do this, I can truncate stuff, I can move stuff around, I can use this pad if I want, I can hit this pad 3 times and then hit this pad. On a Eurorack sampler, you don't have that freedom. So, I mean, I think there's potential, but nobody's really tapping into it.
Hey, Bryce, Can I just say what we're all thinking? All right. Hardware sampler, like new version of MPC, new version of Roland MV8000, whatever it's going to be, and give it CV inputs, and that would do it.
That would be dope. Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, that would be dope.
Worlds, you know,
definitely,
I mean? That's really what people are thinking.
You know, hold on. Well, see, that's the thing. That's what I was about to say. How are we not there yet?
I know certain people in the scene that have been trying to push forward with that, but the actual larger companies, they don't have the visionary mind behind them. They don't. They're not moving forward in the way that we all, like, you know, people who grew up using the samplers are like, oh, well, this is basic. Like the MPC, the machine, even push, like all of this stuff is basic to us. We're like, none of y'all are pushing boundaries.
And so to me, like, you know, I've done some Eurorack sampling and manipulating samples, and I'm like, I'll get to the point, it'll take me 45 minutes, and I'm like, okay, now it sounds like how it would sound in my MPC. And to me, it's like, well, you know what I mean? I might as well have went and did it in the MPC. You know what I'm saying? Because, it took me so much time to get to that point. You know what I mean? It was like 45 minutes of trying to manipulate. Okay, let me barely turn this knob. You know what I mean? And barely turn this. Okay, now it's chopping right there where I want it. And it's a long-winded process. No, there's, like Ken said, there's nobody really approaching it like thinking like we are and bringing like some innovation. They're just throw your samples in, turn your start endpoint, and you know, do all this stuff, and it's not innovative.
This is why I'm excited by Mickey Delp and what he's doing over at Delptronics with the CV to MIDI input module, so that you're basically, you can send CV from your modular
to your sampler.
This thing, and it will send it into your sampler. The problem is that most samplers don't have modulation, MIDI modulation over start and end points and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Like the MPC is not going to be able to map in that same way. That's why we need these companies to actually get their head out of their ass and get some real designers putting out some serious products.
And well, that's
can I say something, Ken? I'm sorry. Do you think that that's attributed to where production is right now? Like what?
No, I don't.
You don't think? Let me ask you. Like producers, like how many producers are using this? How many are going to act?
You know what? Here's why I don't think it's like that. Part of the reason would be, one, you wouldn't have said that when the 808 first came out and it wasn't geared towards hip hop producers. You wouldn't have said that when the original MPC came out and it was geared towards rock guys and the hip hop guys started using it. To me, it's not so much about like, oh, you know, this is where the producers are right now. No, their punk asses need to learn how to use the tools.
Well, but you at the same time, it is kind of a learning curve to get into modular, you know, and there's not very few urban producers, and I use that term urban loosely. You know, there's very few urban people trying to use Eurorack in their music.
Not really designed
let me say this.
That's not really the point.
Now let me say this, Ken. I get what you're saying. Get up on the technology, but even the average producers, they don't go that deep.
You give people the tools.
We go that deep. They have the tools. I deal with a lot of producers, A-list guys and guys who are starting out, and I'm telling you, they don't even use 10% of this stuff. Cool. I'm not saying don't put it in
there. There's a lot of people that shop at Walmart, but you know what? There's a lot of people who actually care about what they're getting too. You know what I mean? Like there's, so just because the masses might be morons doesn't mean that there aren't going to be shining stars that elevate the culture. You know what I mean?
Guess what? And you know what? Those guys are using this stuff now. Yeah, wait. Those guys are doing it.
Look at Jeremy Ellis. Like I guarantee you, I've talked to Jeremy Ellis a few times. Jeremy Ellis is a king of finger drumming, and I guarantee you, if you say, "Hey, look, now we have a new tool that lets you go way deeper, way easier," he would use it, and then people would see that.
Now, don't get me wrong, Kent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing you. I agree with you. I think that people should dig deeper and go into it. I just think a lot of the times these companies don't forge forward with technology.
Yeah, good point.
That's the same as a company who's not doing well in business saying, "Oh, well, we're not making a lot of money right now, so we're not going to advertise as much," and then they get even less business. To me, that's a cycle of eating yourself.
Hey, Ken, check this out. And all of us in the room know what I'm talking about when I say there's companies where the software still doesn't have tempo change.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Let's not do that now.
Let's not even go there.
We're laughing at you.
Let's get some tempo changes in there, right? Like, come on. Real basic stuff is not in there.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that goes back to the point. Of these companies have stopped pushing the boundaries, and you can say what you want about
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing: innovation, right? So that goes across the board. Innovation is a scary thing for a lot of these companies. This is why you got Hollywood only making comic book remakes.
Right.
I'm okay with that, though. Hold on, stop.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it also stops from the new stuff being made, and it goes across the board. A lot of companies are afraid to innovate because they can't quantify what kind of return they're going to get on that, and this is all about ROI.
Right. You know what I mean? A lot of this innovation isn't necessarily a crazy ton of R&D, and it's not a crazy ton of parts prices that are really going to kill them. A lot of it, I got to be honest with you, I think it's visionary. I think that they don't necessarily have visionary people leading teams that these people that are getting a lot of project leadership jobs that are handling these things aren't necessarily people that are at the forefront of the culture or bending molds, and they might have a couple of people on their team that are shouting like, "Hey, I want to make beats that are 289 BPM," and they're like, "Well, nobody else does that, so it's not important."
Right.
Yeah, but you know what? It's that one dude who's quirky as hell that you need to be listening to. You know what I mean? Like it's that one dude who doesn't make sense that maybe if you did something around that paradigm, it would shift everything else, So you got to pay attention to it,
That's the risk that people aren't willing to take, because then the financial guys come in and they're like, "Well, yeah, we're gonna lose money doing that, so yeah,
right,
guy, we're cool on that. Maybe 45 updates from now or something."
Yeah.
And that's whack though. I'm still waiting on a decent sampler with keys on it. When's the last time you saw that?
Man.
Never.
Yeah. I don't know. Nobody got an answer for that.
The ASR.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it.
Wait, hold on. Oracle's about to pull out his micro sampler.
Hey, listen, I'll do it.
He said, "I'll do
it." Yeah, man. But I think to bring a real innovation.
There you go.
Yeah.
He almost sold it to me last time I talked to him. I almost went out and bought one just because he was like, "No, man, you got to play with it."
Man, yeah. But see, little things like that, like a sample with keys on it. Nobody's doing that for some reason, because somewhere along the line it's gonna not make as much money as if we copy the guys that had, well, we had 16 pads, but now we got to do something with 64 pads because they got 64. We got to do 128 pads.
Right.
Like, you just chasing each other in this.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I know something that has 88 pads on it that's
Right.
really nice laid out. You know,
Right.
That's right.
Right. See, and that's the thing, and that's where they go, man. It's just a real copying thing. And I'm still waiting for everybody to get real time time stretching. As a standard.
real time stretch has been like talked about
Elusive.
for years and years, and these dudes are slacking the hell off, and nobody should be cutting these companies slack for not putting that stuff in their samplers right now.
That should be a standard.
That should be like everybody should be giving the middle finger to Native Instruments, to anybody, to Akai, to anybody who doesn't have real-time time stretch, tempo mapping, audio tracks. All of this shit should have been done back in like what 2008. Like it should have been done.
Right. As a standard.
Yeah.
All right.
Look
I'm
at
gonna chill out. I'm gonna get back.
Uh-oh, you done got Ken started looking at
This layout right here, it's got 16 pads, 49 keys, a bunch of fade. Why is this not a hardware sampler?
That's what I'm saying.
Word.
Yeah,
Why
word,
is it not
word.
happening yet?
Put a sampler on. Keep that same thing. Put a sampler on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Yep.
good. Put some SD slots in the back for some storage, and you rocking.
Good
And
to
make
go.
it a real sampler. Don't give it some half-ass engine. Don't give it some like crappy polyphony. Like no, make
Or
it the
sample player.
Oh, but you know what? Here's the thing, though, guys. That a while ago on one of the earlier shows, I remember mentioning like, "Yo, dude, is sampling losing its appeal?" It's because I felt like a lot of companies aren't really given like sampling is an afterthought. This is a so-and-so thing, but we just threw this bit of sampling on there just because.
Right.
You know what I
think it's just
mean?
that the companies are refusing to allow the people who have innovative ideas to execute them properly. You know what I mean? And I think
Right.
because of that, you're getting a lot of people that are like, doing tired-ass production.
Yeah.
So
and that's because it's
and
the
that's
same
not to
tools
say
over
that
and
options
over.
aren't out there to do something interesting, but at the same time, it's like, dude, if you give people more interesting options up front, then the people like us aren't going to be the only people digging for these options. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. You do it, you put them in there, and then you make the shit look cool.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people upgrade and they put things in things like, oh, we got this now, but I ain't seen you do nothing cool with it.
Yeah.
People want to see something
Right.
cool.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Make
Right.
it all sampler get. I don't know anybody that's on here right now to do something cool on it. It's going to become appealing.
Right.
Right.
And some of the companies that are putting out interesting things like Electron, they're putting them out, but these are really small companies that don't have a big advertising budget. They're really their price points are high because they don't have high manufacturing volumes, and then it's also convoluted to work with. Like their user interfaces are
I'm
not the
about to
best.
say it all comes down to workflow, man. Like at the end
that's
of the
what
day,
I'm
it's workflow. So a lot of times, to get back to what Stoni was talking about with producers and stuff, a lot of people aren't going deep. So if you come out with something that makes it easier to do this stuff, then people will use it. If you had a keyboard sampler that made it easy, that if I sample a note in here, I can automatically spread it across and design my own sound. You would have a lot more people doing that. They'd be like, yo, man, I just grabbed this sound with my phone. I can just drop it in here. This joint is across the keys. I don't got to think about it because it's automatically mapping it to my pitch for me. And now I can just play it as an instrument. Like it's already good to go. You have a lot more people using stuff like that. But then, you get companies that come out with this stuff, samplers and things like Electron. They come out with a sampler, does dope stuff, but it's like you look at it and it's like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. This is too much going on. I'm gonna just go back to my software and I'm good. Like that's the thing. Like somebody has to come out with something that makes it easy, gives it a really smooth workflow to where it's going to encourage people to do this stuff. Then you have more people that are using it. Like people that aren't even thinking about it. They're like, man, so if I got something that's easy to turn into a sound.
And to add to that.
Go ahead.
And to add to that, the price point.
Yeah.
That's the killer.
The price
Because
point
you
is
can ask
everything.
for a million things. You can ask for a ton of different things and features, and even features that are advanced, but workflow that's easy. You can ask for all of that, but these companies going to be like, well, that's going to shoot the price up another $1,000.
Yeah.
Why though?
No.
You know, that's the way I look at it. Is why are we okay with that paradigm? Like, give us what the hell we need and don't break our banks in the process.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's their responsibility. They're the companies that should be innovating and doing the technology to give us the great workflow and the advanced features at the same time.
Get the ball rolling. Make one that's going to be a lot of damn money because everybody's going to chase you and that price is going to come down quick as shit.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out so that if any because I do know that some of these project managers and whatnot and heads of companies do watch this show, so I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Sam Botstein. Now, Sam is a friend of mine who is a smart designer. He's got some really interesting ideas on what he could do with a sampler.
That's true.
You know. And he's also open to listen to people like us at the same time. And
tell Sam to come get his sweater. He left it over here. My wife thought it was mine and wore it on errands.
That dude is he's one of those cutting edge people that these guys need to be listening to, and they're just not listening to him. So and like I know that he's had meetings with a lot of different companies. But it's like, getting these people to understand and invest in the future, not invest in 5 years ago and let's make that happen from 5 years ago, but actually invest in the future is like pulling teeth.
Yeah, you know? It's true. Well, that goes back to that whole thing. That goes back to that whole thing, though. Innovation is scary for these companies. They want surefire. They are not mavericks. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So, we've run a good while here. And actually, I think it was a pretty good discussion. We didn't get to kind of all the topics that I had laid out, but we never do. But still, it's been good. So, before we get out of here, we're going to go back down the line. But I want to point this out. This is a new project that me and Bryce and my man Dap put together. It's called Art of Intelligence, AOI. Woo. And it's a cassette, and all the cassettes are kind of different. They're the same, but they're all a little different. They're kind of one of a kind. Each cassette is one of a kind. If you can look at this. So these were custom made, and they're swirly cassettes, right? So each cassette is a little different, and we're going to be dropping that very soon. We worked on it in the spring, and then you just don't know how long it takes to get some basic cassettes made. I appreciate the cat that made the cassettes, but there was a point when I was like, son, money or the product? But I'm happy to see that it's all come together. And this is going to be the digital artwork very close to this as well. And that'll be dropping very soon on BeatPPL.com. Make sure you cop the T-shirts. We still got many more T-shirts and more to come. And and all the sound stuff that's being designed. And make sure you stop over to Joe's shop, because me and Ken got stuff up on Joe's shop too. And I'm going to just go down the line right now.
Corey and I.
Yeah.
If you're gonna use conundrum, you need to get your grammar right.
Nah, you don't have to do. I don't need you to correct my broken English. You don't have to. You ain't got to. You ain't not have to do that. Yo, so let's go down the line. Stoni, before we get out of here, you want to talk about anything you're working on and what you got coming up?
Again, I'm working on this EP. That's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been producing full time now, and follow me on Instagram. STONIS Music, Stoni's Music. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and just stay tuned to the music that I'm about to start, putting out, and and
Word.
That's it for now.
And we're looking forward to it when you drop that. We're going to make sure to do honorable mention and have you on to talk about it too.
Absolutely.
So that we can make sure that people is up on that.
Nice.
All right.
Oracle, what's going on, man? What you cooking?
Man, Sound Oracle. Follow me on Instagram for unnecessarily elaborate music beat making videos.
Yes, sir.
With strobe lights and remote controllable things.
AI and all that stuff.
Man, some of the stuff Oracle does with your boy. What's your boy's name? That be in the studio with you?
Who? Trezor?
Yeah, man. Some of that stuff you guys do, you and him are so in sync, man. It's dope, man.
Yo, it's this.
Yeah, man. They just be vibing, man. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Shout out to my man Trezor. Also, I'll be speaking on a class about sound design for iStandard at the Atlanta Beat Camp.
Dope.
On September 16th, I'll be at Loop in Berlin in November.
Dope.
I'll be doing the iStandard finals panelist thing in December. Got new products coming out, and just stay tuned.
Word. And Kenneth Surflux a lot.
I'm gonna keep it short because I spoke too much already.
He gets
I'm gonna
conscious
say,
now.
I got two things to plug, real simple, and that's gonna be this right here on my thing if it pulls up. So Modular Boom Volume 1 and 2, I have ready to release. Really, the only thing that's holding it back is I got a couple of friends doing some audio demos for me. I got Knox Squared, who I'm really anticipating some beat demos from. I'm hoping I can get like Bryce and Corry to maybe do something, maybe even Joe. Who knows?
For sure.
But
For sure.
so Modular Boom is basically it's primarily drum samples, and the way that I organize the files is super easy to drop it into any sampler, and I also put it together into 16 sound kits also. So if you got like any sampler with 16 pads, you can just load that file up and you'll be good to go. So it'll work with Machine, MPC, whatever. But yeah, it's basically drums that are all done on the modular and just really interesting sounds that are unique. So I'm trying to get my new site together. It's been a while getting the new shop up. So shop.fluxwithit.com. So that's the other thing is just go over there, sign up for the newsletter, and if you sign up for the newsletter, I'm going to drop a coupon real soon, and all the new products are going to drop all at once. You're going to get good deals on it, and you'll be good to go. So
Yes,
support me, and I'll support you is basically what I'm saying.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And make sure you support fluxwithit.com and all the stuff my man got going on. We're going to slide on down the road right now to my man St. Joe. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, same old stuff, just staying busy. Soundsandgear.com, that's the hub for everything. Push tutorials, machine tutorials, and make sure y'all come through the new shop. It's my own little boutique, just kind of some different products and brands that I stand behind. So, every time I'm doing reviews, people always ask me, can they buy stuff from me? So I put in the work, got the shop up, got these connections with these companies where y'all can do that. So plugins, even got some Eurorack hardware up there, got stuff from Corry and Ken up there. So yeah, man, just come through shop.soundsandgear.com, and then all the other stuff. Y'all know where I'm at: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Sounds and Gear.
Word.
That's it.
Good stuff, man. I gotta say again, I'm glad to see your store coming together. It's real dope, especially that it's not only like just sounds and stuff. You have that. You got some exclusive boundaries, but you got some hardware.
Yeah. I'm not. It's
exclusive bundles,
so much,
I should say.
Yeah. It's not so much. It's definitely a lot more software and plugins and moving into more hardware stuff. But I got some key brands that are doing sample packs and stuff like that. So just my own little take. It's the same way that I run Sounds and Gear, man. Just my own little vision of what I want to push and what I want to put out there.
Word.
Nice. I'm about to buy some bass traps from Joe's store.
Eventually, you might be able to do that.
Word up. So we're gonna check out shop.soundsandgear.com and my man Bryce Upright. What you got going on, bro?
Yo, man, I'm just chilling, man. Back at work, so I'm just kind of taking it slow, man. Just getting back acclimated with the whole in and out 9 to 5 deal. So I'm just chilling, man. I'm just chilling.
Word.
Still looking to bring this Nord kit out. So that'll probably be my next focus. So other than that, man, just chilling. Yeah, just chilling.
Word. So on that note, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for checking out the 1 week late episode of Beat People Podcast, episode 8. We see you at episode 9. Good looking out. Be sure to support the crew. Squad up, beat people.
Yes, sir.
We don't beat people. We are beat people. Peace.
Peace.